take a little poll here. Those of you who joined our Simon Academy this month, this October, please raise your hand. Very good, most of you. Very good. How many of you have been here since last year or earlier? Yeah, this year. No, I mean last year. Last year. All right. But I'm glad to see so many of you who joined this month to come to hear my lecture. I suppose to most of you this is the first time. On the other hand, may I also take a poll? Those of you who heard my lecture, like either here or in other places, public lectures, please raise your hand. Thank you. Not really very many. That's all right. So I can maybe tell you some of the same old stories and still get the good laugh. I came back last Thursday night. Yasuda-san, can you do something about this? I came back from CanCum last Thursday night. As you know, the Prime Minister and his party came back Tuesday night. I returned here 48 hours later because I left the party in CanCum and went on my own trip for 2 additional days. You probably were following this whole story in the newspapers. That they left here a week ago Tuesday and arrived at Seattle, Washington the same day, stayed there overnight, and flew next day, which was Wednesday, to CanCum. Seattle to CanCum, flying over the Rocky Mountains and over the city of Houston, Texas. The summit meeting itself was for 2 days, last Thursday and Friday. The party left CanCum Saturday morning and flew non-stop to Portland, Oregon for an overnight stay. They left Portland Sunday morning, flew non-stop to Haneda, not Narita. Now that's one thing nice about these prime ministers' chartered planes. They take off from Haneda and they come back to Haneda. And I think they came back here Tuesday night. The reason I didn't come back with them was that I wanted to go to Salt Lake City, Utah, to attend a convention, an international conference. To attend, I said, as a delegate, as actually one of the only 2 delegates from Japan. It was an annual General Assembly of an international Congress and Convention Association. It is an association made up of people or firms interested in promoting international conferences, to create conferences, to organize conferences, to service or serve conferences. They are, for example, conference centers, like Kyoto International Conference Hall. And no representative came from there. And the Philippine International Conference Center, for example. There's one in Berlin, Germany, a huge Congress Platz, I think that's what they call it. And also members are airlines, national tourism promotion organizations like JNTO, Japan National Tourist Organization, 国際観光振興会. Congress organizers like Simon International. Oh, yes. There was a man from Kyoto International Conference Center. Yes. He and I were the only two from Japan. It was nice because it was one conference. I didn't have to do a thing. I didn't have to work. I wasn't interpreting. There was no interpreting. Everybody spoke English. That's bad. We need conferences that need our interpreter services. But there, the conference was going on for 6 or 7 days, starting Saturday night and going on until next Friday. I went there late Saturday night just to be in the conference over the weekend. Sunday morning there was an opening ceremony in the famous Mormon Tabernacle. Any of you heard about the Mormon Tabernacle in Salt Lake City? The Mormon, that is so-called Mormon. Tabernacle is a kind of cathedral. The Mormon church, the Mormon is a popular name for this particular sect of Protestant Christianity called the Church of Jesus. What was it? Church of Latter-day Saints? The Church of, what was the full name? Has to do something with the Latter-day Saints. Anyway, it's popularly called the Mormon. In the Mormon Tabernacle, they have a very good, world-famous choir. It's called the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Some 300 people, men and women, sing the hymns and other songs. And all the delegates, about 300 delegates to this International Congress and Convention Association went there to listen to the choir. By the way, do you know the difference between Congress and Convention? Differences aren't really very much. But there are words like Congress, Convention, and Conference. Conference is any conference. Two people can make up a conference, right? Congress sounds more academic, scientific, like gakkai. Convention is very far from any academic connotation. It does not sound academic. It doesn't sound very nice, actually. Convention is like 業界の集まり. If all the ramen vendors in Minatoku get together for monthly meeting, it's a convention. But if doctors, like neurologists, meet in Kyoto once a year, it's not called a convention. No. Convention is a 業者大会, something like that. Therefore, this organization, desiring to cover all types of conferences, picked up the two extremes, the most academic and distinguished sounding name, and the most popular, I can use more adjectives, but let me not, popular types of conferences to cover everything, International Congress and Convention Association. So this is called ICA. And as I said, the working language was English. Here we are. And I didn't know, there was no interpreters. And I didn't have to present any paper. I did not have to talk. So it's just nice. For a change, I could fall asleep if I wanted to. But it was too exciting to sleep. I got there late Saturday night. And Sunday morning there was Mormon Tabernacle Choir, which was beautiful. And besides, it was short, about 45 minutes. And I didn't fall asleep. In fact, I was tape recording the music. And It's a long story, but I had lost my luggage. I don't know why these things happen in the days of modern technology, with all the sophisticated machines they make to fly us from one place to another all over the world. People still manage to lose your luggage. When I attended this ICA General Assembly 5 years ago in Nice, France, I was interpreting for one conference in Madras, India, the Japan-India Businessmen's Conference. I flew Lufthansa. I flew Air India from Madras to New Delhi and took Lufthansa to Frankfurt and changed it. I changed to another Lufthansa to Nice. No, it was Air France. That's why. When you change from one airline to another, there are more possibilities, more chances of your luggage getting lost. They call it interline transfers between one line and another. When I arrived at Nice, I didn't have luggage, so I had to sleep one night without pajamas, which does not make me Marilyn Monroe. But next day it came. Same thing happened. Again, attending ICA convention in Salt Lake City. Somewhere between Cancun and Salt Lake City, the airlines managed to lose my luggage, 2 of them. In fact, they lost the luggage for about half a dozen people. I flew from Cancun to New Orleans by Eastern Airlines, very short, 1 hour and a half, over the Gulf of Mexico. The plane was late. You know why? Because many VIPs, the dignitaries, were leaving from Cancun every 30 minutes, so that the President of Mexico, the United Mexican States, they call it formally, President Jose Lopez, what's Jose Lopez, what was his last name? Portillo, Jose Lopez Portillo would be able to go to the airport. He stayed at the airport all day long, and he sends one head of state or government off and salutes and go back and have a cup of tea or tequila, whatever, and goes out and sends another. So every 10-15 minutes, these dignitaries were leaving the airport. In the meantime, private airlines were delayed. Every now and then, between these VIP flights, the control tower would let 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 commercial airliners take off. Anyway, my Eastern Airlines flight was late by half an hour. I was very worried because I had only 1 hour of connecting time in New Orleans to transfer to Continental Airlines to fly from New Orleans to Salt Lake City, stopping at Denver, Colorado. Well, the plane was late, but there is a famous airline law. This is not written anywhere. It's one of these silly, humorous rules or laws. You know about Murphy's Law and Parkinson's Law and so on. The airline law states, if the plane you are on is late, the plane you want to connect to will never be late. Do you follow me? If your plane is late, the one you want to connect to, it's never late. They take off on time. Surely, this time, even though Eastern was late by half an hour, Continental was taking off on time. So I had only 30 minutes to reclaim my bags, clear them through customs. Clear them through customs. I said I have nothing to declare, nothing. And tell the airline people to please put them on this Continental flight. By the way, in America, Americans say Continental. They don't pronounce it Continental, they say Continental. It's hard for me to say it anymore. When I was living in the United States, I used to say Continental. But now that I am a professional interpreter and I interpret for people of many nations speaking different languages, I try to be clear. So I never say continental anymore. I say continental. And often Americans say, what? Then being a very nice man, I compromise, I say continental. So the luggage may have been left at the New Orleans airport, but I think it probably was left at Denver airport, because when I arrived at Denver, to my great surprise, there was a snowstorm, fubuki, blizzard, real bad snowstorm. You couldn't see anything. And there were inches of snow on the wings of airplanes at the airport. And they had to bring some machine to blow the snow off to permit the planes to take off. And there was some problem with the equipment, and they use the term equipment, meaning the airplane. Kizai no kosho, as they say in the airline jargon. So we were told to transfer to another plane. They transferred all the passengers, but they probably failed to transfer some of the luggage. And departure was late by almost 1 hour. So when I arrived at Salt Lake City, it was just about midnight. And 3 dozen people got off there. And when this conveyor stopped and there was no more luggage coming down, there were about 6 of us left without luggage. But these things make your traveling interesting. I can say it's interesting now that it's over and now that I found my luggage. You meet interesting people. This Continental Airlines didn't even have an office at the airport. Some airline called, I forgot the name, not the Pacific, some strange name I had never heard before, was an agent for Continental Airlines. And they were receiving claims or report for lost luggage. And there was a man and there was a line, 3 or 4 people. I was second from the last. And anyway, I filled in the report. The man was actually very nice. And after he asked my name, I said Muramatsu, and I spelled it M-U-R-A-M-A-T-S-U. He wrote it down. And as he was saying, now what kind of luggage was it? Can you point to the shape? They had pictures of many luggage. Any one of you ever lost luggage in traveling? Yes, you know the report form you have to file. Pictures of various types of luggage. And you say, this is it. You circle the picture of the luggage of your shape. And he said, as he was talking, he said, Matsumura, Mr. Matsumura. I said, no, Muramatsu. He said, I'm sorry. I knew then he understood some Japanese, because only those people who know something about Japan or Japanese language make that kind of mistake, right? So I said, you must know our language. He said, well, actually, I was in Japan for a few years, some years. Well, anyway, he was very helpful. But from between that point on until next in the evening of the next day, I had to call this place many, many times. But people were all very nice. There were other people working on rotation. Everybody was very kind, very helpful, tried to comfort me. But I still wonder why they cannot stop that kind of mishaps. Because it costs those airlines a lot of money to try to trace them by telex or telegram all over the continent. Actually, they do it. And since the so-called airline code, the city code for Salt Lake City was SLC, you know, all the airports in the world have this code made up of 3 letters. San Francisco, for example, is SFO. Los Angeles is LAX. This is for Salt Lake City. But that plane goes from Salt Lake City to San Jose and San Francisco. The code for San Jose is, by the way, it's a Spanish name, San Jose. It should be pronounced San Jose. Most Americans say San Jose. But about 15, 16 years ago, the city council 市議会 of that city solemnly decreed or decided that our city should be pronounced San Jose. So its official pronunciation is San Jose. Anyway, the code for San Jose is SJC. And these people explained to me, very often people make a mistake and set the luggage on to San Jose. That may have been the reason. Anyway, they came back next evening. It was a great relief for me. So again, the first night, I had to sleep without pajama. But the weekend stay in Salt Lake City itself was most enjoyable. Because as I said, there was no work. I had no obligation. After the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, we were taken by about 5 big buses to sightseeing tour of the scenic areas around Salt Lake City and in the mountains. And we took steam engine train ride, locomotive, good old-fashioned Western locomotive, choo-choo train, into the valley called Heber Valley, Heber Creek or Heber Valley. And the train, which was very slow, very faster than you were jogging. The train was called the Heber Creeper, how? It was just as slow as creeping, Heber Creeper. The ride was a lot of fun, and then at the end there were some entertainments on the way. The gunmen, the highway robbers, the bad guys in black suits and guns come out and try to rob the train, and there's a sheriff on the train, and they a mock fight, and of course the sheriff wins. In the meantime, a lot of cameras click, and at the end of the line there's an old-fashioned Western mining town, a kind of ghost town, and there are bars or saloons, souvenir shops, and then we had Western-style barbecue dinner with a lot of entertainment, a lot of singing. So we all came home full and tired and sleepy. And then what a great relief it was to find my luggage in my room. And I telephoned this airline office to thank them. And I said, I really appreciated your courtesy, kindness in looking after my luggage. But if you have a minute, I'd like to ask a question. Seriously, I'm interested in learning why these things have to happen. With all your advance, I said, in hardware, the art of flying airplanes, how come these silly things happen? Can't you, for example, make those tags and the strings a little stronger? You know, tags get lost. They get ripped off. And they do lose luggage that way, too. The man was very apologetic. It was very nice. So I decided not to pursue this any further. So after the 2 nights in Salt Lake City, I flew to San Francisco, met many of my Japanese and American friends there, and flew Japan Airlines flight number 1 nonstop to Tokyo. That's why I was late in coming back to Tokyo by 48 hours. Later, after I came back to Tokyo, I learned that the Prime Minister's plane was not able to land at Anchorage because of, was it a snowstorm or typhoon, or no, not typhoon, fog, because of fog. And the plane had to land at Fairbank, right. And there was no food, and there was no relief crew, because they had to change the crew. Flying from CanCum to Portland, and Portland to Anchorage was long enough. And according to the agreement between the airlines and the airline unions, naturally, the crew had to get off, and new crew had to get on. And new crew was waiting at Anchorage. So was the food. Food was waiting. And fortunately, they were able to take off from Anchorage. So the Japan Airlines hired some small airplane, put all the crew, no, it wasn't small, it was 727. So it was a big 4-engine jet. They flew the crew and the Japanese food from Anchorage to Fairbank. In the meantime, for about 4 hours, 5 hours, the Prime Minister's party was without any food. So I missed that tragic experience. Now, let's, so much about travelogue. Do you know the word travelogue? Travelogue. It's a made-up word between travel and dialogue or monologue. Travelogue is 旅の物語、旅行物語. So I've been telling you about the travel itself, not about the CanCum Summit. This is a poster I bought in Cancun, and this actually is about 10-20 miles away from the village of Cancun. What looks like a medieval castle is actually a ruin, haiko, of ancient Mayan civilization, Maya women. Actually, I didn't see it. If you would picture North America, say Peninsula of Florida here, Gulf of Mexico, and this is Lower California or Baja California, there's Mexico, and somehow there's this Central America and then South America. My map is bad, but this is Yucatan Peninsula, the area of ancient Mayan civilization, Maya. This is where Cancun is, the northern tip of Yucatan Peninsula. So you see, to fly from here to New Orleans was very short. New Orleans to Denver, Salt Lake City, and San Francisco. The village of Cancun, it actually is a village, was a tiny village of only about 200, 300 Mayan fishermen until 5-6 years ago. The government of Mexico chose this village to be developed as an international resort like Acapulco. You heard about Acapulco. Acapulco is somewhere around here. Climate is perfect. Very little rain. It is hot, but not too humid, and a lot of breeze. And this is the map of Cancun. This part is really the northern tip of that Yucatan Peninsula. And you see the long sandy strip. This is all white sand. And the resort, this is the village of Cancun. Airport is around here. And there's a road. And all the hotels are here. The conference itself, the CanCum Summit, took place in the Sheraton Hotel. And that is somewhere around here. And most senior Japanese delegates, like Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, and Minister for Economic Planning Agency, and their immediate aides, stayed there. Almost everybody else, including Japanese newspaper people, press people, stayed in another hotel somewhere around here. And the interpreters and the airline people and the KDD people stayed in another hotel at this corner. I was trying to find out where some of the officials were staying, and I was told they're staying. その人たちは笠間屋に泊まってますよ。That's what they said, 笠間屋. So maybe it sounded like a Japanese 温泉旅館ね。It sounds like 笠間屋, but it was actually Casa, the house of Maya. They should really pronounce it Casa Maya, but everybody say Casa Maya, Casa Maya. And the conference was at CanCum Sheraton. By the way, the pronunciation for the word Cancun, which is the name of this village, is with accent here. There is an accent mark. I don't know what they call it in Spanish. It's a French accent aigu, and it's called Cancun. It's not Cancun, it's Cancun. The hotel I stayed at was, I'm sure many of you know Spanish, Camino Real. What does this mean? 王様の部屋。not 部屋。道。部屋はカメラ。でしょカメラ is the room. Camino is a road or street. Little street is called Caminito. There's a tango called Caminito. Real means 王様の。in English it will be royals. Actually, these place names are always interesting. There are places with this name in Canada. Montreal. Montreal. This is French. This part is 王様の. Mont is French for mountain. That's Royal Mountain. I think in German there are similar place names. Kaiser something. Kaiser? Kaiserstuhl. Does it mean King's Mountain? Königsstuhl. Yeah, that's more like Montreal. And in Mexico there is a place called Monterrey. And that's also same. It's in Spanish it becomes Monterrey. Monterrey. In California there's Monterrey. In south of San Francisco. Monterrey. That means 王様の山. Everything is saying Monterrey, Montreal. And this is 王様の道, Camino Real. In California, around Stanford University, there's a road called El Camino Real. Okay. There is an aerial photo, a postcard of this sandy strip. And I'm going to circulate this so you can look at in the meantime. I brought some visual aids to make my talk more interesting. The conference room itself was small. It accommodated 22 delegations. The 22 countries participated in CanCum Summit. Each delegation consisted of only 4 people. No more than 4 could attend the conference at any one time. Mostly, these were the top person from that country, president or the prime minister, or sometimes foreign minister, when president or prime minister could not come. And then a couple other ministers and a principal official who is an assistant. In Japan's case, you know Mr. Suzuki, Zenko Suzuki went, and Foreign Minister Mr. Sonoda, and the Minister of State and Director General of Economic Planning Agency, Mr. Komoto. And the 4th man was Mr. Kikuchi, who is called Gaimu Shingikan. In English translation, it is Deputy Foreign Minister. Do you know Mr. Komoto's nickname? Warawan Denka. You know why? You know why he's called Warawan Denka? You know why? Because he doesn't smile? Actually, before the war, or during the Pacific War, there was a prince in Thailand, a Thai prince, whose name was Prince Warawan. That's why. Yes, he was called Warawan Denka. So it's the name of a real person. People of my age group, some of you remember Warawan Denka. But most of you, young people nowadays, never heard of this real Prince Warawan. But that's why it's called Warawan Denka. Otherwise, there's no reason to call him Denka. He's not a prince. But Komodo-san actually he's a very nice person. He just rarely smiles. This very thick, what would you call it? It's not a book. It's not a brochure. It's a document, a piece of document. Is a list of participants. List of participants. The people who attend conferences are called delegates or participants. Delegates sound very official. Some of the minor officials accompanying these delegations may not be called delegates. Because, for example, an interpreter is not called a delegate. Interpreters are not delegates. Secretaries are not delegates. Stenographers. But they may be still participants. Participants are the people who participate in a conference or in an event. So participants can be anybody. Delegates are more important people. So this is the list of participants, listing them by country and by titles, beginning with the top person. The first, this is in English. All the documents for CanCum Summit were prepared in 3 languages: English, French, and Spanish. Spanish is the country of the language of the host country, Mexico. I only picked up the English one because I couldn't read others. They were of no use to me anyway. And the countries are in English alphabetical order. The Spanish copy lists all the countries in Spanish alphabetical order. Likewise, the French would list the countries in French alphabetical order. They're quite different, you know. In English, the first country is Algeria. Since to read these small prints, I need glasses. The chief delegate from Algeria was President Chadli. These names and countries are interesting. So let's list them. Algeria is President Chadli. Many delegates. About 30, more than 30 people. 4 pages. About 33, 34 people. Next comes Austria. Never to be confused with Australia. Austria is in Europe. The Prime Minister of Austria is called in English Chancellor, like the German Prime Minister Schmidt. The Chancellor of Austria was Kreisky. Mr. Kreisky could not come. He had a pneumonia. 肺炎になっちゃった。But Chancellor Kreisky and Mexican President were the architects. 建築家の architects are the people who designed and built this conference. Lopez Portillo, President Portillo and Chancellor Kreisky are the real architects of this North-South Summit. But Kreisky couldn't come, so Austria sent Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Minister. His name is Pahr, P-A-H-R. Austria has a very small delegation, 8 or 9 people. Then comes Bangladesh. Bangladesh. You know what this means? This is Bengal. Bangladesh means the land of Bengali. Bengal 人の国が Bangladesh ね。And the Prime Minister, was he Prime Minister? Yes. Rahman. There are many Ramans. A few years ago, Prime Minister Raman was assassinated. Bangladesh sent about 10, 11 people. President of Brazil could not come, and on his behalf came the Foreign Minister, Guerreiro, as personal and special representative of the President of the Republic. Brazil, all right, about 12 people. Canada, the famous Mr. Trudeau, my favorite world leader. Because Kreisky could not come, that is. Mr. Trudeau and President Portillo, acted as the co-chairman, two co-chairmen. It turned out that Mr. Trudeau was a fantastic co-chairman. He really was effective, as well as graceful, charming, as usual. I noticed he didn't have a flower on his lapel this time because he wasn't wearing jacket. Very few people wore jackets. They are all in sport coats. All right. I'll, in the meantime, circulate some of the pictures. Toward the end of the second day, the last session, the fourth session, the concluding session, was delayed while people were still trying to work out a compromise, 妥協, on the language of the co-chairman's report. There was no communique, no formal statement, but two co-chairmen would announce this co-chairman's summary to the press and therefore to the world in their own responsibility. But there was one very delicate part which you probably read in the newspapers about so-called global negotiations, GN, 国連包括交渉, it is called, global negotiations. They took about 3 hours to finally agree on the language. In the meantime, all the interpreters were waiting in the booths. While I was waiting, I took several pictures. And I don't think it was prohibited, because I did carry my camera, and nobody stopped me. And when I put my camera and clicked the shutter, people saw me, and I wouldn't stop. So once you circulate, I want these back to me eventually, those postcards and pictures. So Canada was Trudeau, and Chile. No, China. Chile wasn't there. So, what is the? So, China. Prime Minister. Jiang. Was that Jiang? No. Zhao. No, there are some, the people in the Chinese class. I think in English it's spelled like this, right? And how do you pronounce it? Huh? What? Zhao Ziyang. Very difficult. I always thought it was Zhao Ziyang. It is これ小の蝶ね。それから紫でしょ？ね。それから太陽のようですね。日本語超仕様。So that's a friend from China. China sent many delegations. 2 pages, 2 full pages. So, 3 pages. About 15, 16 people. There were 4 interpreters from China, and I'll tell you about these interpreters later. In France, of course, President Mitterrand. Big delegations. No, not big. About 12 people. Germany. of course, there are two Germanys. This is called Federal Republic of Germany, ドイツ連邦共和国. The other one is called Democratic, German Democratic Republic, GDR, that's right, GDR. That's East Germany. This is Federal Republic of Germany. Here again, Chancellor Schmidt had to have a heart surgery. I think he had a pacemaker installed, so he could not come. And Germany sent Foreign Minister Genscher. Foreign Minister Genscher, who always attends these summit meetings of the industrial nations. Anyway, the Seven Nations Summit, like Ottawa. All right, 3 pages. Guyana. Guyana is in South America, right? Yeah. It's a former British colony. Guyana is where they had the what? People's Temple. The wholesale suicide about a year ago of a couple hundred people. Guyana. That is what put Guyana on the world map. That's the expression used. That is what made Guyana famous. You know, that's what put Guyana on the world map. Unfortunately, that was President Burnham, a very English-sounding name, about 10 people. Then India. Who came from India? Prime Minister Gandhi. Mrs. Gandhi, that is. Indira Gandhi. First name is Indira. Indira Gandhi. About a dozen people. Ivory Coast. Zonge Kaigan. From Africa. Foreign Affairs. Foreign Minister Ake. That's his name, Ake. Very small delegation, 7 people. So I'm going by alphabetical order. Suppose in Japan, if you list these countries by Iroha-jun, how would you call Iroha-jun in English? Alphabetical order. I didn't invent it. It was Mr. Komatsu who said that. He was interpreting simultaneously. When somebody was explaining, この名前はイロハ順で並んでおります。Mr. Komatsu said, names are arranged in alphabetical order. I think it's a fantastic translation. That's what he should have done, and that's what he did. And if the foreign delegates are confused, let them ask questions. They should ask questions. Excuse me, I need some clarification. What is alphabetical order? And then whoever said it first should explain. The Iroha is a Japanese alphabet. And then comes Japan. Of course, our Suzuki-san. Big delegation. 1, 2, 3 pages. Without listing the interpreters, that's the 3 pages. 官房副長官ね。だから総理大臣秘書官、それから外務省の局長さん2、3人、通産省の局長、経済企画省の局長さん、etc., etc., 農林水産省の局長さん。Then, after Japan comes Mexico, and President is Jose Lopez Portillo, or Portillo, Mexicans call him. Not many. 3 pages. Nigeria, another African country, black country, President Shagari, I think, yeah. Shagari. It's usually these small countries that send big delegations. 2 pages. Philippines. Always Philippines, in plural, always. President Marcos. Ferdinand Marcos. Not many, but 8 people. Saudi Arabia. Very important country. The moderate Arab country, right? 穏健派ね。Saudi Arabia. From Saudi Arabia came Prince Fahad. Fahad. That's a difficult name to pronounce. Fahad. Sometimes it is spelled with an A here. His official title is Deputy Prime Minister and Crown Prince. He is 副総理。そして、he is 皇太子。Crown Prince is like Crown Prince Charles, the next emperor or next king. So he is the successor. Crown Prince Fahad in the Arabian robe. Wow, 3 pages. Sweden. Sweden sent Prime Minister Fälldin. Fälldin. There's an umlaut over Fälldin for 10 people. And Tanzania. So Tanzania was most interesting. Tanzania is a big, important African country, and the president of Tanzania is a very famous man, Julius Nyerere. Julius Nyerere. He's actually a scholar. I think he studied at Oxford or Cambridge, classics. And he translated almost all the Shakespeare's works into Swahili language. So, very vocal person. I'm sure he appeals to his people tremendously. He spoke a lot. I cannot tell you what he said, but I can tell you how he spoke. He spoke very passionately, waving his hands and pointing his finger at many people. Julius Nyerere. It's very interesting. Tanzania is a member of the British Commonwealth. And a few weeks ago, there was a Commonwealth conference in Melbourne, Australia. You remember. And Mrs. Thatcher, Pierre Trudeau, Indira Gandhi, Julius Nyerere, and all these people were meeting there. And many of them are on first name basis. No, when you say you are on the first name basis, お互いに first name で呼び合う仲, very friendly. Mrs. Thatcher would say, Julius. Kind of cute. Julius. And Mr. Trudeau calls him Julius. I think when this Julius acts like a little brat, ね、わがままな子供, these people say, oh, Julius. They try to calm him down, I think. 微笑ましい. And then, after Tanzania, comes United Kingdom. The Great Britain is officially called the United Kingdom of Great Britain, Scotland, Wales, something. The real name for that country is very long. United Kingdom of, who knows it for sure? Great Britain, Scotland, and Northern Ireland or something. And these are several kingdoms that are united. Anyway, it's called the UK, not England. To call that country England is not polite, because that excludes Scotland, and it excludes Wales, it excludes Northern Ireland. So you should call that country UK, United Kingdom. Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, Maggie Thatcher. UK, but dozen people. Then comes USA. President Reagan. The other delegates from the United States were Secretary of State Haig, a very controversial man, military man, and Secretary of the Treasury, whose name is spelled exactly the same and pronounced Reagan. He's the Zaimu Chokan, Secretary of the Treasury. He is Reagan. President is Reagan. President Reagan was actually Reagan when he was a movie star. He was called Ronald Reagan. But when he became governor of California, he decided to change his public image. So he announced, from now on, I want to be called Reagan. Okay. And while the presidential campaign was going on a year ago, the Japanese newspaper still used to write Reagan, Reagan. And some people pointed it out, it should really be Reagan. I, for one, insisted that it should be Reagan. So, altogether, I think the Japan Newspaper Association, Nihon Shimbun Kyokai, after many meetings, decided to change it. And then everybody had to change it. USA. Many delegates, about 30 people. Venezuela. Venezuela sent President Campins, Herrera Campins. Campins is president. 10 people. Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia, it's pronounced. Sent President I can't even pronounce it. In English it would be Krieger, but I know it was pronounced differently. It was something like Krieger. Finally, from the United Nations, Secretary General Waldheim. He was 23rd man. All right, that's a list of delegates. Why don't you start? While I was interpreting, I was taking some notes, but not about the contents, because it is a closed-door conference. Nothing should be leaked. Interpreter should not tell other people but what went on. Interpreter should not take notes of the substance. I was taking notes of the order of the trip in which they spoke. They did not speak in this order. They spoke in Spanish alphabetical order. And then they drew lottery, kujibiki, to decide who shall be the first. The first speaker was Prince Fahad. I think it was decided previous night. So as the first speaker, Prince Fahad came well prepared. He had his manuscript in Arabic. Therefore, of course, he spoke in Arabic. It was interpreted into English by some Arabic interpreters who came with the Saudi Arabian delegation, I think. And then we took delay. We interpreted that English into Japanese. Here are my notes, which show the order and some of the interesting words or expressions they used. I jotted down these interesting words and expressions, but without context. 文脈なしに. So there's no secret here. Newspaper people may like to see it, but they can't tell a thing from this. I'll tell you about some of the interesting expressions they used. You know who spoke first? Actually, unofficially. The meeting was to start at 10 o'clock in the morning. But 10 minutes before 10, do you know who spoke? It was Mr. Suzuki. Do you know why? I was responsible. I was testing the microphone. I wanted to make sure that my clients, お客様ね, the Japanese delegation, could hear the translation, Japanese channel, well. Instead of saying 本日は晴天なり, which is very ridiculous, everybody knows it's a fine weather today. And I said, I opened this microphone, I turned the switch on and said, I wrote down exactly what I said, because this was a historical incident. 日本語の同時通訳です。総理、総理、聞こえておりますか？ No, I said more politely, I think. そうそう。総理、よく聞こえておりましょうか？ That's what I said. 日本語の同時通訳です。総理、よく聞こえておりましょうか？ Then Mr. Suzuki said, よく聞こえますよ。But for some strange reason, his microphone was on. I don't know why. All the microphones were off. His microphone was on. And when he said, よく聞こえますよ. And he nodded. And I heard him loud in my earphone. That means all other interpreters heard him in Japanese. I don't know what happened in other booths, but they must have been confused. But that was 10 minutes before the official opening of the conference. So actually, in CanCum, Mr. Suzuki was the first speaker, unofficially. That's a secret. Only Mr. Suzuki and I know. Then you read in newspapers, and therefore this is no secret, that the American delegation was late. There are various reports. Some say they were late by 13 minutes. Others say 15 minutes. Newsweek, I think, said 14 minutes. 14 minutes. My note says 14 minutes. I know it's Seiko time. I know it's very accurate. It was unbelievable. It was a round seats, round table, and there were booths, interpreted booths here, and the Mexican president, Portillo, Pierre Trudeau, and starting from Saudi Arabia, no, not from Saudi Arabia, no, Algeria, etc. Two principals on the front row, Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, or President and Foreign Minister, and the two others behind. So for example, somewhere around here was Mr. Suzuki, Prime Minister, and Mr. Sonoda, and Mr. Komoto, and Mr. Kikuchi, 外務審議官, Deputy Foreign Minister. So on the second day, these two gentlemen changed seats. I don't know why. Maybe Mr. Sonoda had